Erev Tov, Rabotai. We mentioned one time before, maybe a while ago, that it says in the Talmud that even though the killings of the Beit Din are not applicable today, right? Harigat Beit Din. So what does that mean? We don't have a Beit Din that can kill people, execution. We don't have that today. But what we do have is, it says in the Talmud that Hashem punishes, the same way as the Beit Din. If a person did a certain sin, he's chayav mitah, the Beit Din lemala punishes him just like the Beit Din lemata. Same thing. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. By the way, this brings me to a good question, right? Now they're talking in Israel, about what? You heard what they're talking about? They just passed a law. It's already like becoming a law. Onesh mavet lavnechabelim. You know what this means? The terrorists are going to be executed. If a person is convicted for terrorism, they're going to execute him. I don't know if this will ever happen, before, I don't know. But they already passed the law. One time. They have to pass it 2 more times, I think. So, question is, right, we don't have Beit Din today that can kill, that can execute. So, is this allowed to do what they're doing, to kill the mechablim? This is the one question, right, that we have to ask. Is it allowed to do that? Yes. To execute them?
But we're not going
life for life.
Life for life.
We're not following Torah. We're not following Torah.
Right, but is this according to the Torah? That's the question. Or is it against the Torah? That's the question.
I'm not sure if it's against.
Is it according to the Halacha or not? I know that. You don't have to tell me that. We know that, right? But the question is, this law, is it against the Torah or not? That's the question.
Question.
Yeah.
Is a terrorist act equal to announcing a war? Is it like an act of war?
Not really. Just one person, killed somebody, killed some people. It's not really a war. It's not a milchama.
Terrorist is different.
Yeah.
Guy on the street.
That's a different discussion, But anyway, right, the interesting thing is, that the truth is, I have to tell you the truth, emet, that this law is according to halacha. It is. Even the religious parties, by the way, are supporting it. They are. Why? Because it's not against the halacha. But then we just say, right, we don't have Beit Din today that executes people. So how is it according to halacha? So I'll tell you a secret, it's not a secret, it's in the Shulchan Aruch, put down, right? Put down the Shulchan Aruch. It says, right, that when there is a certain situation, where there's becoming like hefkerut, like lawlessness, out of control. People are being killed like this, out of control. So even though we're not allowed to, execute people for, just regular, but when the situation becomes like this, the Beit Din has the power to execute people. Because to restore law and order in the community.
But you did it already.
I'm saying? What?
You did it already.
What does that mean? Yeah, but now if we don't punish them, they're going to do it again. You understand? This is the thing. So in order to discourage people, to scare them, from not doing things like this, we're allowed to kill them. We're allowed to execute them. This is according to halacha.
You just said there is no Beit Din.
You see the difference? I'm talking about there's no Beit Din. Yeah, no, we have a small Beit Din. We don't have a Beit Din that can execute people. For that, you need 23 people. Dayanim, 23 Dayanim, on a Beit Din. Today we have Beit Din 3 people. We have a small Beit Din. You understand? They cannot execute people. But in a case like this, where there's lawlessness, they're allowed to execute people, to show an example, that people should be scared, to do something like that. So the truth is, it is according to halacha, what they want to do. And it's very good, but I think it's a very good idea. Personally, I would vote for it. I have no problem with it, what I mean? I don't have any problem with this. This is just, something on the side I'm telling you, but this is not exactly what I wanted to discuss. What I wanted to discuss is like this, right? Okay, we don't have Beit Din, that punishes in general, right? In general, we don't have that today. Okay, that we know. But Hashem does punish. The thing is like this, you tell me Hashem does punish, but we see people, who are sinners, what I mean? They killed people, they committed adultery, they break Shabbat, but they live a nice long life, 70, 80 years old, 90 years old. Hashem doesn't kill them. So how is that? You see my thing? Today people are breaking, most of the Jews today, I don't know, whatever the percentage is, they're breaking Shabbat, but nobody's killing them. Hashem is not killing them, nobody's killing them. They're living a nice long life, 70, 80, 90, whatever. So how is it? But he's chayav karet, and he's chayav mitah for what he did. So then, how is he alive? This is the question, Hashem gave up. Okay, so here's the thing, right? That it says you show me about that, right? That Kol HaOmer Shakadosh Baruch Hu Batran Ibatru Bememeohi. You know what that means? That don't ever say, the Hakadosh Baruch Hu gives up, on din. He never gives up. Hashem never gives up. He always does the din. So the din is always, no matter what, Hashem Kadosh Baruch Hu performs the din, because the world is built on din. If you don't have a din, you don't have a world. The world cannot exist like that. Okay, fine. So then, how is it that people are living, nice long life? We see people, right? We see some guys, who were in the mafia. These guys, they killed people. They admit that they and they live a nice long life. 80 years old. Nobody killed them. How is it such a thing like this? So you know what the answer is, right? It's in the Rambam. Hilchot Mamrim. The Rambam says like this, that we don't kill people, who did crimes, if they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what the rules are. They don't know what the halacha is. They don't know what the din Torah is. So a person like this, he's called shogeg, right? Tinok shenishba. He doesn't know what he's doing. You think a person who's breaking Shabbat, he knows, that he's chayav mitah because he's breaking Shabbat. He doesn't know this. He thinks, it's okay, Everybody does it. I do it too.
Everybody's going to die in the end.
Sure. But the thing is, that a person who's chayav karet, you know what they say, right?
Yeah.
He dies before the age of 60. Right? Yeah. That's called bitat karet. But this guy lived until 80 years old, 90 years old.
Big Mechalel Shabbat.
Yeah, So how is that? The answer is that the Rambam says, the children of the Karaim, the ones who are their children who don't know what the rules are, they were born into a bad family. And the family didn't teach them, the laws of the Torah or the laws of morality, whatever it is, all these things. So therefore, they don't know. They're shogeg. They don't know. So that's why they live, because they don't know what is halacha. They don't know what is din. They don't believe in it, and they don't know about it.
Even Rabbanim tell them every day that Shabbat you keep it, but still they are doing it.
But they don't know the value.
How
They
do
don't
you
care.
know?
Right? You know what it is? Let me tell you something, okay? You got a good question. The answer is like this, most Jews don't even come to shul. You know what I mean? What are you talking about, right? And even the ones who do, what does the rabbi tell them? You ever hear the rabbi tell people like this, the rabbi? Tell them, chayav mitah, you break Shabbat, chayav. He told somebody like this? Nobody told. Nobody told. Rabbis don't talk like that. You know what I mean? They talk nice and sweet, sweet things they say. They don't say like that, chayav mitah, you're liable to death. So that's, they don't tell them these things. They don't know. And even if they do tell them, you know what they think, right? When you tell them, even if the rabbi would tell them, you're chayav mitah. You know what they're going to think? Rabbi fanatic, crazy, fanatic rabbi. They don't believe. They think the rabbi is crazy, They think the religious people are crazy. Shorim, right? Parazitim. They think like that. They don't understand this is the emet, They think these religious people are crazy. So they don't know. The tinok shenishba. They don't know what is din Torah. They don't know nothing about that. And this is the reason why Hashem doesn't punish them, because Hashem only punishes somebody who's mezid. You know what that means? He knew what he was doing, and he still does it. But if he doesn't know what he's doing, how can Hashem punish him? It's not din. It's not din Torah. It's not justice. There's a rule like this, right, in the Gemara, Talmud. It says in the Talmud that a person, to be liable to death in Bet Din, somebody had to warn him before he did what he did. Give him azhara. Otherwise, he's not liable. He's patur. So even if the rabbi told me, he told me last year, on Yom Kippur, Chayav Bita, right? But now, this is already a year later, So if I do something now, right, is his warning good? No.
Expired.
Why expired? That's it, expired. It's expired. The warning has to be right before the sin. Right before. So if you don't get a warning, you're not chayav mita. Another thing,
So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Every Rosh Hashanah we get judged.
I'm sorry, every Rosh Hashanah?
Every Rosh Hashanah we get judged.
Right.
So is it judgment has expiration for a year?
No, there's no expiration, but what I'm saying is they cannot judge you if you don't know what you're doing. They cannot judge you even on Rosh Hashanah. They cannot judge you. For something you don't know.
Judged, let's say, dying this year, but he's still living. So next year, another Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
They let him through.
But yeah, they let him through. You know why? Every Rosh Hashanah until he's 90 years old. You know why? Because he doesn't know. Nobody taught him these things. And even if they saw, that the religious people are keeping, Shabbat, he says religious people fanatikosim. Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
Died at 50 years. Is he that correct?
Good question. Good question. Did he get karet? The answer is for sure he had no karet.
So why he died?
Why did he die? Because he was judged. You know what they say, right? This is a good question. The answer is, that the Chazal say, Kadosh Baruch Hu nichnas im tzadikim ad chut hase'ara. You know what that means, right? That Hashem judges the tzadikim much more strict than regular people. So if you see, right, some tzaddik, who was judged very strictly, harshly, it's not because he did something, a big sin. It's because he's a big tzaddik. That's why. In a sense, Shlomo HaMelech, big tzaddik, the wisest of all men, right? It says about him, what it says, right, in the Navi. It says Hashem loved him, Hashem loved Shlomo. So somebody, Kadosh Baruch Hu loves you, he's going to judge you much more strict than somebody else.
Not every person that passed away before 60 is correct.
Yeah, it's true. It's true what he's saying, because we have big tzaddikim, like the Arizal, the Ramchal, right? They passed away early, not because they had karet, because this was a gilgul, they had a tikkun to make. Once they made the tikkun, they left.
So you cannot say like that before 60 everybody...
No.
It's a general rule, it's not 100%. Nothing is 100% in this world, you know what I mean? Nothing is 100%. In general, right, when people die before 60, it's mitat karet, in general. But there are exceptions also.
Continues to your question. Hashem looked at the Torah, created the world.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
Now, when Shlomo HaMelech need to be dying,
Yeah.
he has to die because the kingdom of Jerusalem has to split. And there should become a choice. So, was it by Torah already written, or it was free choice?
Okay, we'll talk about that some other time. That's a different discussion. We got to get into that different time. The Rambam says about this, that they're both true. It's free choice and it's also predestined. Hashem knows how to run the world like that. We don't know how to do this, but Hashem knows how to do these
Are
things.
we actually free? Or whatever
Of course,
we do,
we have free will. Yeah, we have free will.
actually whatever Hashem
Yes, we have free will. Of
wants.
course. Yeah.
Can I just give you an idea, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
It's like the 400 years that Hashem told Abraham that your kids going to be slaves. In the end, Hashem counted since Yitzchak was born, and he still was king.
No.
So yes, he was
He gave
counting the
them
400.
Let's go on. We don't have time for this now.
Only because if he still let them stay there is nobody to take him out now. Because they're all going to be like regular.
But why Hashem counted
Good.
from Yitzchak when he was born, the same year?
It's what-
We'll talk about that some other
Yeah,
time.
some
Bezrat
other
Hashem. Different
people
discussion.
count.
Anyway, right, I want to continue with this idea. There's so many things we have to talk about. There's a lot of things that come out of this, all kinds of things, exponential things, But anyway, right, the point is like this. The Rambam says like this, Paskins like this. The Bet Yosef also, in Orach Chaim, Paskins like the Rambam. He says that a person, who's the son of the Karaim, that he was raised in a bad family, he's not Chayav Bita. If he does sin, The Rambam says we don't kill him. What do we do? We try to teach him, to bring him to teshuvah. This is what we do with a person like this. He's not Chayav Mita because he was born in a bad family. He doesn't know what he's doing.
They don't consider me a Jew, right?
I'm sorry? No, they're Jewish, but they're sinners. They're kofrim. Understand? But anyway, right? So the Bet Yosef also brings down there another opinion, which is the Pnei Yoshua, Bet Yosef, and the Pnei Yoshua says, that they're chayav. He disagrees with the Rambam. So comes Bet Yosef and says the Rambam is the halacha. That we consider to be tinok shenishba. So therefore we don't punish a person like this who doesn't know. But you're gonna tell me, but he saw people who are religious. He should have done teshuvah. It doesn't matter. He thinks that they're fanatic. He doesn't respect them. So this is the reason why we see people who are living a long life, even though they're sinners. Because Hashem considers them to be shogeg, tinok shenishba. Even if they learn the law, because they grew up in a bad family. They have a bad shorish, they have a bad influence. The Chazon Ish comes and says even more. Right, we'll finish over here. We have to do our beat. Comes the Chazon Ish and says, not only we don't kill them. He says in our generation, he says these sinners, we have to love them, and makar of them also. The Chazon Ish says, we're not even allowed to hate them. The ones who are mechalel Shabbat. So he says what we have to do is not hate them, to love them and to bring them close to Hashem, but not to be judgmental with them. Because in this generation, it's so low, such a low-level generation. The people don't understand. They don't see the hand of God, in what's going on. So that's why they don't keep the Torah. Tinok shenishba, So therefore, this is the halacha bemet. That our job is to bring it close and mekarev, the ones who are the sinners, and not to judge them, and try to kill them or whatever, this kind of thing, this kind of crazy stuff. Right? That's our job. That's what we have to do. The only exception is this, there's one exception. If you see a person who's like mesit, against religion, against rabbis, he talks against religion, mesit. He causes people to sin, by telling them Torah is not true, you don't have to keep it, blah, 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 this kind of thing, There are people like this, right? In Israel, we have many of them, right? I don't want to tell you the names now. We don't have time. If you see a person like this, causing people to sin, mesit, he seduces them against the Torah, incites them. A person like this, bemet, he's a bemet rasha, he's not called tinok shenishba, a person like this. Because what business do you have, to come out against the Torah? What's it your business? You know what I mean? Okay, you don't want to keep the Torah, don't keep it. But why fight against it, This shows that a person is really a rasha. ברוך ה' לעולם, אמן ואמן. רבי חנן, השומר, עושה הקדוש ברוך הוא לעוסק לישראל, לפיכך חיבר להם תורה ומצוות של מה אדוני חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה בידי.